B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Continuing where we left off, we are in Halachot Netilat Yadayim, Siman Daled, Lamed Bet, 32. Halakha 32, Halakha Lamed Bet. Lechatchila. Really, me'ikar ad-din, yesh le'izahir shelo yiga' b'yadav b'shum ma'achal kodem netilat yadayim shacharit. A person has to be very, very careful not to touch any kind of food product without netilat yadayim in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you haven't washed netilat yadayim yet. When you woke up, don't touch any food. Because as we said before, when a person wakes up in the morning, the entire night when you were asleep, you were considered like a dead person. And therefore there is this ruach ra'ah, there is this impure spirit that's on your hands. Water, we also said. Water, last week we discussed, that water, even when you wake up in the middle of the night, you want to drink water, you can make shahakol. Because you're not actually touching the water itself, you're going to probably be holding it with a cup or a bottle. If you are in the ghetto and you happen to be like slurping water with your hands, yeah, that's something to worry about. You should probably do netilat yadayim if you're going to be touching the water, because you have ruach ra'ah on your fingers. Someone had a question?
So, I heard that if you have a cup of water, it's like not a bottle, like a cup left open overnight, that water is also impure, right?
Who said that?
Oh, if it's not covered. If it's not covered, right?
Who said that?
I don't know, but you said you heard it.
I've
heard it from my mom.
Okay, so they're pointing out something that we mentioned. We're going to talk about today also. We mentioned in the past. That's actually more applicable if you've left that cup or beverage or food underneath your bed where you sleep. Right? But if it's on top of your head, it's not as bad. You should try to still cover it. But today we don't have that kind of ruach ra like in the olden days because the grounds are covered. We'll cover this also very soon. Those days the grounds were all dirt, right? It wasn't covered. So you're actually dealing with earth itself. And earth has this impure spirit on it as well. But today, all the floors are pretty much covered either with carpeting or granite or whatever it is. So you still don't have that kind of ruach ra. Even if you leave food under your bed, it's not as bad. Like it was back in the day. If you would leave food under your bed, it's done. Like you didn't even touch that thing. No. But we'll cover it now also, B'ezrat Hashem. And you should also be very careful with children that have woken up in the morning, that haven't done netilat yadayim. They should not touch food before netilat yadayim. Because even for children, it doesn't matter. Even kids, before netilat yadayim, you should worry about such a concept. And we've said before, also, we've said before that parents definitely should start training their children from a very young age to do netilat yadayim. Even little ones, 2, 3-year-olds, it's nice, You teach them to do netilat yadayim in the morning, then they get, hopefully they'll get used to the idea and they'll remember to do it all the time. You should not touch holy books before doing netilat yadayim. You have a sidur or whatever it is, don't touch the sidur, don't touch the chumash before netilat yadayim. Mutar lekanot lechem. Now, are you allowed to buy bread in the morning from bakers that are Jewish, but they're not observant? So you're pretty much like, I don't know, this guy probably didn't wash this morning. Should you buy bread from them? We don't have this concept today, really. We do.
That would apply all day, not just in the morning.
Yes. But the reason we're bringing up the bakers, let me just, the way bakeries work, they bake in the morning. So you would be right, shaking other people's hands also. I think we're going to discuss that soon also. But let's stick to the baker. Can you buy, I remember back in the day, growing up in Iran, even today still is the same way pretty much. But like me growing up, that's how it was. Like you wanted bread, there was no such thing as like going to the bakery or going to the store and taking it off the shelves. It was like, I want 2 breads for today. That's it. You would go to the bakery and he would take it out of the oven and hand it to you. It was fresh bread. Like people didn't have like leftover breads unless it was leftover at home. But like you didn't buy breads in bags, buns and stuff like that. It was a normal thing. Like early in the morning, there was a line behind the bakery, and the guy would take out bread from the oven and give it to people. Like, I want 3, I want 4, I want 10. I hated those lines with a passion. It was like one of those things you had to deal with growing up in Iran. Like everything had a line. Everything. Probably getting into your home sometimes even had a line. It's like a famous thing in Iran, lines. Saf. Where were you today? To Saf. I was in line. It's like one of the things you would do on a daily basis. But but it's like it's crazy there. They even made like parodies about lines in Iran. It's a funny thing. They would like interview the guy, like, how long have you been in this line? Like 3 months. I've been in line 3 months and I'm in 3rd place right now, and it's awesome. We love it, But that's how today the only lines you hear about is like Apple comes out with a new phone. You have all these like Apple freaks in line for like 3 days, sleeping behind the stores just to get the new Apple, and then 3 weeks later it's just there. You can just get it. But so should you buy from a baker? But we're talking about a Jewish baker here. A Jewish baker that is non-observant, so probably didn't wash his hand. But it's mutar. It is permissible to buy from them as well. You can buy any type of foods from a store owner that's not religious. They don't wash their hands. You don't have to worry about become so tense, they're touching it without netila. I would go on a limb and say it's probably because, again, washing hands, okay, we mentioned in the beginning, when we wash hands, how about if you just wash your hands without a netila cup? Remember we discussed that. How about if you're just washing your hands but with no netila cup? We said the importance of netila cup is very important. Having a netila cup, that's why we make a bracha. If you don't do it if you do netilat yadayim without a netila cup, you don't make a bracha, because that's a safek, right? But washing your hands, according to some poskim, even without a netila cup, does do something, right? So I guess we are relying on those that everybody pretty much, when you wake up in the morning, everybody washes their hands. Somehow, with water. So in some way, it's still okay. And I think that's what the halacha brings down as well. Now if you know, let's say you have guests and they're not religious, they slept over your house, they woke up in the morning, no netilat yadayim, nothing, and they touched food. You know that this apple here has been touched by non-netila person. Let's call them that. What do? If they're dry, if it's like dry product, like fruits that you can wash, okay, just rinse them once and you're okay. You don't have to you don't do netila on fruits. But I don't want to catch anybody with a cucumber 6 times. You don't have to do that with fruits. You just wash it. You just rinse it. But things that are like perishable, like cookies and bread and things like that, you don't need to tillit that bread. You don't have to wash that bread, because obviously it's going to ruin it. I just realized something. When we dip bread in our soup in Persian, what do we call it? Tilit. Shoresh is netila. What did I tell you? Persian Jews don't reach for words. It has to have some tilit. Tilit. Netila. That's probably where it comes from, because that's what netila is. Netila is, pouring water.
You do it every morning?
Do I do tilit every morning? No, I do netilat every morning. Okay, we're going into this. Okay, food products or drinks that someone left under their bed and they slept on that bed, right? Which we already mentioned in the beginning. There are more people that permit this food than not, which means the poskim that say even if you leave food under your bed, you could eat it are more than those that say you shouldn't eat it. בכל שכן אם הייתה הקרקע שתחת המיטה מרוצפת באבנים או בקורות ובעצים. Especially if the ground that your bed is on is carpeted or it has tiles or whatever it is, so actual earth is covered. For sure then you don't have to worry about it. Right? If you leave food under your bed. שיש להתיר בדיעבד. That בדיעבד, it's not the best. You shouldn't leave food under your bed. But b'di'evet, it's okay. You could have it. Va'afilu behefsed mu'at. Even if it's not like such a loss of money. It's like one apple. Right? It's not a big deal. It doesn't cost so much. You're not going to lose out on it. You still don't have to throw it out. Va'afilu bekarka ulam she'eno merutzefet. Even if we're talking about ground that's not covered. Im yesh hefsed merubeh. If it's something that you're going to lose a lot of money on, b'davar yesh la'atir b'di'evet. Then b'di'evet you could even use that. If a person slept with their clothing and in your pockets you had food and you went to sleep, like we're not talking about a nap here. Let's say you went to sleep for the night and that day it was a bar mitzvah in shul and you collected all the candy and you took some from the kids that were running around because you have issues maybe. You took some candy from the kids, you put them in your pockets, now you fell asleep, you went to sleep with the same clothes in your bed. Are those candies problematic because, let's say they don't have covers? For arguments, it's no cover, right? You have a problem because now you went to sleep. There's ruach ra'ah when you fall asleep. Does that go on the fruits or on the candy? B'di'eved, it's not asur. You could still have those. ומותר להניח לכתחילה אוכלים משקים. Oh, this is now, it's so interesting. You know, it's amazing how many things the halacha touches on. On an airplane, behind the seats, you know, there's those pockets, right? Behind each seat. Now each person reclines these seats, he's sleeping. So now you put your food, your sandwich, inside this pocket. Joe in front of you is asleep. So technically speaking, your food is under his bed. And he's not a bed though. It's not a bed though, but he's asleep. Talking about, no, it's not a problem. You should know, Aaron Paskin, it's not a problem. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and what did you say?
You're thousands of feet up in the air. Is that rock there?
That's another question that I've heard. A lot of I don't want to bring any names. Like, you know, is there tum'ah in the air? Like, or it's like, it's a different zip code. You don't have to worry about halakha. You know? Do I have to tie tefillin if I'm not in the same country anymore? You know? There are questions. Someone once told me that he was traveling for business with a friend of his, right? And the guy came and knocked on his door. They were in China. The guy came and knocked on his door in the morning, and he opened the door. He was wearing his tefillin. He wasn't ready to go out yet. Looked at him, he's like, why do you have your tefillin? He goes, what do you mean? I'm doing shacharit. He goes, but you don't need to wrap tefillin when you're on your vacation. He's like, for a second, I thought he was joking. So I'm like, what are you kidding me? He's like, no, really, it's like tachnun. Like, you know, you're vacationing, happy times. You don't make tachanun. You don't wrap tefillin on happy times. You're on vacation. So it's like he actually thought, you know, it's only regular life you put on, you know, tefillin. But like vacation time, like it's like moed for you, you know? You don't wrap tefillin on moed. So some people think that, you know, it's okay. There are certain things that certain times you just don't do, right? But yes, you're right, actually. You don't have to worry about that. As hard as it is for me, Aaron, you don't. It's not a problem if a person puts food behind the chair on an airplane and someone falls asleep on it. It's not a problem. But it's interesting to know that it's brought down in halakha. You know, all these things are mentioned. So next time you're on a plane and you put your sandwich there and then you go, oh, what do I do now? You know, Askaragha fell asleep on my sandwich. You don't have to worry about it. Or just don't fly with Askaragha. Even though we said before that you shouldn't have a non-Jew wash your hands netilat yadayim in the morning, a Jew has to wash their own hands netilat yadayim in the morning. Mikol makom bagoyim en kpeda im nogea beochlim mashkim shacharit. But if a non-Jewish person touched your food product without doing netilat yadayim for themselves, obviously they don't have the laws of netilat yadayim. But let's say, does it pertain to them? Do we have to worry about, hey, they also went to sleep? You know, what do I do? They just touched my food. You don't have to worry about it because that kind of tum'ah does not pertain to non-Jews. It only pertains to Jewish people. Because anyway, even if they do netilat yadayim, it's not going to help because they don't have that kind of tum'ah like we do. We have a different kind of tum'ah that requires netilat yadayim. They do not. Right? Hayashen bayom shenat keva. A person that goes to sleep during the day, but shenat keva, a permanent sleep. We said there's two types of sleep. You take naps, which you don't wash for. But let's say a person works at night and they sleep during the day. So their sleep during the day is an actual, real sleep. It's not a nap. That's their sleep time. Right? So if a person sleeps shenat keva, he shouldn't touch any food products until he does netilat yadayim. Because that sleep that he has had is shenat keva. It's a regular sleep. You're awake the whole night, Shavuot night. The next day you get home at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., you go to sleep. Sometimes you wake up like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's shenat keva. So when you wake up, you should do netilat yadayim. You don't make a bracha on that shena, on that sleep, but when you do netilat yadayim, but you should not touch any food products until you do. But if you do touch food products, you just wash it and you're okay. Mutar le'ariach tabak kodem netilat yadayim shacharit. Now, if you sniff tobacco, right? Do you need to do netilat yadayim before you do your sniff? I mean, if it's that bad for you that you need to wake up literally in the morning and sniff tobacco, you should probably seek help. But let's say you do sniff tobacco. Can you sniff tobacco before netilat yadayim? Yes, you can. V'chen mutar la'ashen sigaria kodem netila. You could also smoke a cigarette before you do netilat yadayim. There is no din of not doing smoking before netilat yadayim. However, what? Yeah, same thing. You can. Although I have to mention that a person that does do these things that regularly, that you really have the urge to smoke as soon as you wake up, you should definitely seek professional help, right? Because it's a situation. Either way, these things are not healthy, and anything not healthy should not be done. And of course, if it's mutar, if it's permissible to smoke after you wake up in the morning before netilat yadayim, also it is mutar that when you use the bathroom, you come out, you haven't done netilat yadayim after using the bathroom, you could also for sure then smoke before doing netilah. Because as we said, the netilah that we do in the morning after we wake up is on a much more severe impurity than using the bathroom. Using the bathroom, the impurity from a bathroom is not as severe as the impurity that a person gets waking up in the morning after a night's sleep. Or let's say a person has just visited a kever, at a cemetery. You don't have to have washed your hands before you before you smoke. And it also brings down that it's mutar also to smoke a cigarette inside the bathroom. There's no problem with that. Even though that it's mutar to smoke, if a person is at a cemetery, they smoke. And also, there is no ruach ra'ah, that impure spirit does not settle on food products if you take them to the cemetery. Right? It's not that type of an area where you're not allowed to take food products into. You're allowed to take food products into a cemetery. However, the Ramah says, person should not drink and eat and smoke inside a cemetery. Obviously, any person should know that's not a place to do that. A cemetery is a very respectful place. Person shouldn't be in a cemetery eating and smoking like, it's like regular life. Sometimes when, unfortunately, lo alenu, we should never have to go to these places at the wrong times. But you go to a cemetery and you see people talking to each other, like joking around, talking about business. It just I can't understand it. Like, I don't understand. Like, you have no other place than to do this, just leave. This is not the place. It's disrespectful to the metim, to the deceased, and it's disrespectful to the Shekhinah. It's not right. This is not the place. There has to be a certain etiquette, right? People don't, like, I've seen people, like, literally sitting down on the grass, chatting on the phone. Like, are you serious? This is a cemetery. By the way, one of the ways that the Gemara defines a lunatic, right? It says a person that goes and sleeps in a cemetery at night is described as a person that's lost their mind. That's how, because any. But I'm saying for this subject, that's what the Gemara looks at. But a person should also know that, like, a person that really sees no problem with eating and chatting and doing all sorts of things in a cemetery, right? They definitely have their priorities mixed up. They definitely do not realize what is really going on. I don't care what, you go for a burial, you go for a visit. Every time I go, like, I get choked up, even if it's somebody, like, a person everybody has to recognize when you go to a cemetery, it's a place that you should be at awe, and a place that a person should remind themselves. When we're there, we have to remind ourselves, like, this is where. So those that are noheg, they have the minhag to bring food. Levet hakvarot kemo perot v'shtiya. Those that bring, like, food or drinks into the cemeteries in order to say Berachot, or bring people. Let's say there's a big crowd and stuff like that, and they divide it between people. They should try to do it where people eat it outside, not there at the Beit HaKfarot or at the entrance. And it definitely should not be within the 4 amot of a kever, of a grave. We'll do one more halacha here.
What about drinks?
Even drink.
What about someone not looking for a living?
If they're passing out, let's say, things for brachot and stuff like that, food or drinks, they should not drink or eat at least within 4 amot to the grave. They should kind of take it to the side and do that. It's just not respectful for people to be eating next to a grave. הקם ממיטתו בבוקר מותר לו מן הדין לגעת במלבושיו קודם נטילת ידיים שחרית. A person wakes up in the morning. Is it mutar? Is it permissible for us to touch our clothes before netilat yadayim of shacharit? What are we allowed to do really before we do that? So it's mutar. It is mutar to wear all of the articles of our clothing. ולכן מותר ללבוש בגדיו קודם שנוטל ידיו נטילת ידיים של שחרית. It is mutar. ואין לחוש לרוח לרע שעל ידיו. He should not be worried about the ruach on his hands. ובפרט, and יש להקל בבגדים הצריכים לו ביותר, especially with clothing that you actually need for you to be able to get up. Some people, wear very minimum clothing to go to sleep. You wake up in the morning, you don't want to be walking around like that. You should wear something before you go to the bathroom. It's disrespectful. V'chen, that's how it's brought down in Gemara Berachot Samech Amud Bet. V'chen katuf poskim, that's what the poskim say. V'chol sheken im holech lishon achar chatzot halayla. Especially if a person goes to sleep after midnight, where we said when you go to sleep after midnight, the ruach ra'ah already is much less. Not that there isn't, but when you go to sleep after midnight, you don't have that ruach ra'ah on your body that you would have going to sleep before midnight, where it's like a full night's sleep, right? Especially then, you don't have to worry about it. Okay? Especially you should wear your clothes before you do netilah. You don't want to do netilah without your clothes on. Yeah. Especially a person is allowed to go to the bathroom, use the bathroom before doing netilat yadayim of the morning. And wear his clothing. And then afterwards, he should wash his hands and make a blessing. ויש המתחסדים עם קונם והולכים על פי תורת קבלה. There are those that are a little bit more minhag chasidut. They go according to Kabbalah. What do? They leave a bucket next to their bed so that as soon as they wake up in the morning, they do one netilat yadayim. Right? And then they get up, and then they go to the bathroom, and then they come out, they go to the sink, wash their hands, and make al netilat yadayim, the bracha. Right? If they want to do that, they can. However, we'll continue this next week. There are some issues that would be involved in that. And Bezrat Hashem, we'll cover that next week.
I've always been under the impression that I can't wake up and touch my eyes and stuff like that.
You shouldn't. We discussed that when you have that, you should try to do it with a napkin or something else. You shouldn't touch those open body parts of yours as much as you can. And we'll see next week, we'll bring it. Where he says, even when you use the bathroom, touch your body parts as less as possible. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use the bathroom because there's an isur. That's al-bi Kabbalah, not touching the body, right? But holding a person holding themselves from going to the restroom, that's an isur, bal shaktu. It's a midoraita isur almost, right? You're not allowed to hold yourself when you need to use the restroom. So you don't want to, God forbid, stumble on a actual halacha because you want to keep a din from Kabbalah, right? So which one comes first? If you really don't, we'll discuss next week. If you really don't need to that badly go to the restroom, you don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't really do. Okay, you wear your clothes, you do netilat yadayim, you make your bracha, right? We're talking when you wake up in the morning and you actually need to go to the bathroom, you should do that first, and then do netilah. Huh? Go to the bathroom first.
And then get dressed and then
No. Get dressed and then go to the bathroom.
okay, but let's say you're not gonna do it.
You're not gonna do what?
You're not gonna get dressed.
Depends what you have on. I'm saying like there are particles of clothes that you need even when you want to go to the bathroom. Different people, that's fine. You could go to the bathroom like that.
I know about doing netilat yadayim.
Netilat yadayim, you should be dressed.
Fully dressed.
Not fully dressed. I mean like you should have your tzitzit on, your at least a t-shirt and shorts down to your knees. Well, that's what we wear every day. I mean, I'm saying if someone doesn't wear it, yeah. Yes.
So I was told by a rabbi once that when you get up in the morning, you should go directly to do netilat yadayim, and you don't put your kippah on unless you're sleeping with it. Like you do netilah, and then you come out, you say the bracha, and then you go wash your face, for example.
No, and definitely Rabbi Ovadia did not agree with that, and we'll discuss that next week, God willing. There's a safek that if you do that netilah, then you won't be able. I mean, first of all, if you need to go to the bathroom, you definitely should not do netilat yadayim with bracha. You cannot make brachot if you need to use the restroom. If you feel that you need to use the bathroom, you can't be mitpalel. You can't make brachot. You can't daven. You can't do anything until you first go to the bathroom. So with that, you for sure you can't do, right? If you really, like we said, if you really don't need to use the restroom, then by all means, get dressed and go netilat yadayim, go do netilat yadayim and say al netilat yadayim. But not to wear your kippah or not to wear your clothes. There's nothing that says you can't touch your clothing.
But then isn't touching your kippah putting that?
No, like we said, you don't have to worry about touching your clothing with that tumah at all. Or else, even the clothing that you sleep with at night, you have to change and put it in the hamper and change because of that ruach ra'ah. We don't do that. That's
technically, let's say you're wearing pajamas, you get up in the morning, and you want to do netilah and start your day. So what's the proper order? Could you do it with your pajamas on? You go do netilat yadayim?
Yeah, if you really don't need to go to the bathroom, then you could go to netilat yadayim. If you have long pajamas on, you go wash your hands, you do al netilat yadayim, and then go get dressed and stuff like that. So this way you don't have the problem al-pi Kabbalah either of touching your face or touching your body. Then you're free of all concerns. However, if you really need to use the restroom, you shouldn't be holding yourself in order for you to like put pajamas or whatever it is, go to the sink outside, in the kitchen or wherever it is to wash your hands and then come back. That you might be stepping on an isur.
One more interjection. So let's say it's the middle of the night and you have to use the restroom.
You don't need to do netilat yadayim. You go use the restroom, you wash your hands with soap, go back to sleep.
Do you have to say Asher Yatzar?
Absolutely, yes. You make Asher Yatzar fully.
But you're still in that.
Yeah, so we said, this was last week, we said you could Wipe your hands. Even if, let's say if you wash your hands with cold water, it's the middle of winter, and you'll all of a sudden feel like you can't go back to sleep. You don't even have to wash your hands with water. Just rub your hands on your sheets and make kasher yatzah.
What if you just rinse it with water and stuff?
Then even better.
But you're not doing it too.
You don't have to do netilah to make kasher yatzah.
You mentioned long pajamas, does that mean we're not supposed to say Netila with shorts on?
No, we mentioned you can make netilah with shorts on, depending how short they are. Knee height, you're fine.
You can wash your face without before Netila?
Oh, we said you can. We can. You wash your hands, you wash your face, you do your stuff, and then you just try not to touch so much of your without washing your hands. Well, next week we'll discuss what Rabbi Ovadia Yosef's routine was. Is that better? Can I get water or something? A drink, something. Okay, I want to get to our Musar segment as well. Orale? Okay. Ma'aseh Yosef Mokir Shabbat. There's a story. Just want to make sure this is on. Right? Okay. Ma'aseh Yosef Mokir Shabbat. Yosef Mokir Shabbat. Shaya motzi ma'ot berevach ufshefa leotzeot Shabbat. He was very famous that he would always. His name was Yosef Mokir Shabbat. Ma'aseh Yosef Mokir Shabbat. So the story of Yosef Mokir Shabbat, Shaya motzi ma'ot berevach ufshefa leotzaot Shabbat. He was famous for always spending lots of money in kavod of Shabbat to prepare food, whatever it was needed for Shabbat. And you should know any money a person spends for Shabbat, it's like money never spent. It's bracha. You go shopping on Friday afternoon, go all out and say lichvot Shabbat Kodesh. You know, that's how it should be. You're giving kavod to Shabbat, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you blessing because you're doing it for Shabbat. And he would buy wines and the best kind of fish, and nothing was missing from his table. Uvishchnuto, in his neighborhood, there was a non-Jew, and he was a very stingy non-Jew, right? All of a sudden, this guy, I guess, was an expert in the stars, and he sees in the stars that all of his belongings, all of his money, is going to go to whom? Yosef Mokir Shabbat, this neighbor Jew, right? He sees this in the stars. And what does he say? Galat kard. You know, it's like, there is no way I'm going to allow some Jew to get rich off of me, right? So what does he do? He decides, he takes everything he owns and he sells it. Everything he owns, he sells everything he owns. And what does he do? And from the money that he gains from selling all of his belongings, he buys a very expensive gem. He invests all of his money in one stone. Right? No. He's thinking to himself, let Yosele come and get this. Right? And what does he do? Wherever he would go, he had the stone under his hat. He wouldn't let it out of his sight. He would go to sleep with it. He would walk around with it. One day, this guy is walking, and a huge wind comes, blows his hat off of his head. Hat flies off, and the stone, the diamond, whatever it was, falls into the river. The guy jumps in for life, and he looks, and he looks, and he looks, can't find the stone. Comes out he's lost everything. He's lost every penny in his life. He owns nothing now. What happened? That Friday afternoon, Yosef's wife goes to buy fish for Shabbos. And she buys a nice, big, luscious fish. She comes home to clean the fish. I know you guys don't know what that really means. You know, the fish we buy, how it's like butterflied and all nice and clean and open. That's not how fish swim in the rivers. Okay? That's fish after it's been cleaned. So she comes with a fresh fish from the market and she opens its stomach to clean it out. Out falls a huge gem. Rich overnight. Whose money was it? Their neighbor that did not want any penny of his life, of his money to go to Yosef Marki Shabbat. Meaning, like we said before, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu ordains that person A has to have X amount of money, person B has to have X amount of money, do whatever you want. It's going to happen. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wills something to happen, it's going to happen. We can daven for things to happen for us, absolutely. But to think that we could stop HaKadosh Baruch Hu by little weaseling deals or weaseling things, that's not how Hashem works. In fact, we'll see. We'll see a little further on. The Gemara Sukkah brings Maaseh b'Shlomo HaMelech sh'ra'a et HaMalach HaMavet. This is what I wanted to tell you. Shlomo HaMelech sees Malach HaMavet, the angel of death. What's his name? Oh, the angel of death. Shlomo HaMelech sees the angel of death. And he sees the angel of death is very upset. He is not doing well. It's hard to tell. It's hard to understand how the angel of death would be depressed. But that's what the Gemara says. Shlomo HaMelech sees the angel of death is not too happy. So being Shlomo HaMelech, being able to speak to all the angels and all the animals, he goes to the angel of death and he goes, hey, what's going on? Why you, what dampened your mood today? You know? And the angel of death, he goes, listen, leave me alone, man. I got problems. He goes, no, tell me, what's the problem? He says, you're not going to like it, but I've been ordered to take your two main assistants. Their time has come. Your two main assistants are going to die. But I got a problem. I can't get to them. Shlomo HaMelech hears this and he says, oh, all right, this is a great opportunity. He calls upon one of the angels that he had power over, and he asks the Malach to take his two assistants to the city of Luz. What was the city of Luz? Luz was the city that the inhabitants of that city would not die. The Malach HaMavet did not have any jurisdiction in that city. Why? We won't discuss it fully, but that city was called the city of Emet. People were they had such Emet in their lives that the Malach HaMavet didn't have jurisdiction there. So he tells the Malach, take my two assistants to the city of Luz. And the Malach listens and carries these two to the city of Luz. They get to the city and the gates are locked because you can't just walk into the city of Luz. You have to know who you are, who sent you here, why you here. Right? So they knock on the door. The Malach starts knocking on the door and they ask, who are there? And he says, we're bringing a package from Shlomo HaMelech. As soon as the Malach turns around, them two behind him are dead. The two assistants, gone. The neshama has left their body. Next day, Shlomo HaMelech sees the Malach HaMavet all happy and all jiggly. He goes, hey, you're doing much better today. Malach HaMavet says, yeah. Whew. He says, why are you so happy? He says, you remember about my problem I told you yesterday about those two guys, your assistants that I couldn't get to? I finally got to them. He goes, what? How'd you do that? I sent them to Luz. He says, well, by the way, I got to thank you for your help. The reason I couldn't get to them was I was supposed to take their lives at the gate of Luz. My problem was, how do I get them to go to Luz? Who goes to Luz? All right? And lo and behold, thank you so much, Shlomo HaMelech, with your wisdom for helping me. Right? Taught Shlomo HaMelech a lesson. Even Shlomo HaMelech b'chokhmato could not deviate the plans of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When something is supposed to happen, it will happen. David HaMelech was ordained to die at 70 years old, the day he was born. Right? But he didn't know he's going to die at that age. He just knew what kind of day it's going to be. He would learn Torah anytime. He wouldn't go to sleep, but when his time came, when he hit 70, all of a sudden he was learning Torah, he sees something, he gets confused, goes up the ladder breaks, and he passes away. Not to dampen everyone's mood about going and stuff. We're discussing emunah and bitachon and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It means whether it's parnasa, whether it's whatever it is, shiduchim, whatever it is, once again, we have to do our part. But at the same time, we cannot think that we have any rule over what actually takes place. Our part is to do our best. That's it. But to change God's ways by, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that so that I can weasel this guy out of this much, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make this much more money, or I'm going to, Shekia is at this time. But we do have there is that 13 minutes of leeway called Ben Hashmashot. So I close my shop a little later, I'll go into Ben Hashmashot a little bit. Right? You think you're gonna do any better? You think you're gonna win? You're not gonna win. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this is my Shabbat, this is my Moed, this is Kashrut. These are the rules. You go by those rules, Bezrat Hashem, we will all prosper. If we want to kind of weasel our way of getting just a little bit more by doing what we want, it's not going to work. It really isn't. That's why so many times we've said, people go, Rabbi, how do I pay the rent if I don't work on Shabbat? It's like, I don't understand. How do millions of people manage life when they're Shomrei Shabbat, not only Shomrei Shabbat and mitzvot, but they have Torah learning during the day. Some of them take a day off during the week just to learn Torah, hours and on hours, and they do just fine. Which means something's fishy over here, right? There are people that have degrees, they have masters, and they're working for other people. And there are also people that don't know between their left and right, and they're millionaires. We don't know people like that? Like, seriously. Sometimes you see a guy and go, really? But that's how you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That has to be proof to us that it doesn't matter how much you try, how much studies you have. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give a person that parnasah, it'll come, right? For you to kill yourself, mechalel Shabbat, and step over all of the belief system that we have over money, it's not going to pay off. All that's going to do is, at the end of the day, you're going to realize that, I was supposed to make all that money. I just did it. I only did it by losing out on my belief system, by selling my soul, when I could have done it happily without any of that. May Hashem bless us all to be able to always make a wonderful, amazing parnasah, but it should always be with bracha and without any regrets. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.
Quick question, Rabbi.
Can you
When it comes to